The sound was soft. Barely a whisper. A sharp, wet slap that echoed in a sterile training hall orbiting Vardex 9. 10-year-old Liam Reyes stood frozen, cheek glowing red. His eyes, wide and glassy, flicked to the alien towering above him. Blood trickled from his lip, not yet noticed by the boy, but caught clearly by the Academy's hovering drones. Instructor Sharvok didn't flinch. His clawed hand lowered slowly, deliberately. Discipline, he stated coldly, in the formal Katheri dialect. That is how weakness is cured. Gasps rippled through the assembled cadets. Some shrank back. Others simply stared. One, a teen from Europa named Maya Tran, blinked once, then tapped the side of her neural lens, sending the last 5 seconds of buffered footage directly to her private cloud. The human communication relay on Unity Prime received it 6 seconds later. Earth's military comm node, buried deep in the Andes, parsed it 3 seconds after that. By the time the Academy's security drones stirred to reposition, the file had already crossed 12 Terran news networks, 3 defense archives, and was trending across 4 colonies under the tag, #StrikeOnLiam. Sergeant Leona Voss hadn't slept in 20 hours. She was running simulations in the Terran diplomatic ship orbiting Unity Prime, reviewing threat assessments on local pirate syndicates. When the alert pinged in her feed, she almost ignored it. Until she saw the footage. The world around her muted. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. The child didn't cry. That hurt more. Her voice was low when she spoke. Activate Protocol Custodia. Full alert. Aboard the ship TDS Gallant, alarms whispered across silent corridors. Marines snapped upright. Officers called out codes that hadn't been used in decades. Leona tapped into the secure diplomatic channel. Unity Prime, this is Terran Liaison Voss. We are initiating protective retrieval under Concord Clause 9A. I need immediate ground clearance. The response came 20 seconds later. Hesitation bled through the voice. Sergeant Voss, please hold. The situation is under internal review. I am not requesting. I am informing. We are coming. She cut the channel. By the time her shuttle sliced through Vardex 9's stratosphere, the Galactic media had caught the story. Terran comms were ablaze with commentary, anger, confusion, demands for blood. Other species hesitated, unsure whether to call it an incident or a declaration. Leona disembarked in silence. Unity Prime's landing bay was awash in diplomatic staff and curious cadets. The Katheri delegation stood rigid. Sharvok was among them, unapologetic, even smug. Leona's boots hit the floor with unhurried force. She walked past cameras, past murmurs, and locked eyes with the boy. Liam sat on a medic's bench, clutching a thermal blanket. The bruising had spread, but he was upright, chin lifted. Good, she thought. He's still got fire. She kneeled beside him, speaking softly. You okay? His voice cracked. I didn't cry. She smiled faintly. Then you're already stronger than half the galaxy. She turned. And then she spoke to the universe. Let me be clear. Her voice, amplified by the relay drone hovering near her shoulder, cut through the hangar like a razor. Everyone, alien and human alike, turned. I stand here not as a warrior, but as a protector. A child under my nation's banner was struck. Not in war. Not in defense. But in instruction. That is not discipline. That is violence. Some Katheri hissed in protest. Sharvok's claws twitched. Leona didn't stop. This, she gestured toward Liam without looking, is not an incident. It is a message. And Earth has heard it. She stepped forward, eyes never leaving the instructor. We will not retaliate with vengeance. We will not respond with chaos. But make no mistake, this child is not alone. Earth watches. Luna listens. Mars remembers. A ripple of silence. Then she issued her closing line, low and final. We have come to educate, not dominate. But strike a child, and you summon our ancestors. Later, behind closed doors, Unity Prime's Chancellor Armax attempted diplomacy. This could escalate beyond comprehension, Sergeant, the fairy diplomat rasped, mandibles clicking nervously. Surely we can negotiate punishment quietly. Leona folded her arms. Quiet is how predators hide. You're emotional. I'm human, she replied. You should thank whatever gods you pray to that I'm not angry. Outside, the news feeds ran endlessly. Images of Liam. Commentary from Terran senators. Tactical positioning updates from Earth's outer fleets, subtle but real. Leona knew what would follow. The Cathari would posture. The Concorde would stall. And humanity would prepare. That night, Liam asked her a question before lights out. Are they gonna say I was weak? She turned to him. Do you know what strength is, Reyes? He shook his head. It's when you stand up even though you're scared. It's when you take a hit and stay standing. You did both. He nodded slowly. She reached for the room's control panel, dimming the lights. Sleep now. Tomorrow, you learn how Deathworlders make history. As the door slid shut behind her, she walked into the hall, her face hardening. They had struck a child. They would learn what came next. Unity Prime went still. Not in the peaceful way of meditation or order, but the kind of stillness before a storm breaks a forest. The kind that makes animals hide and sensors twitch. Terran fleets hadn't fired. No soldier had crossed a line. Not yet. But every sentient species near Vardex 9 could feel it. The humans had remembered. Leona stood at the glass viewport of the diplomatic suite, eyes locked on the glimmering holes shifting quietly in orbit. No weapons visible. No shields raised. Just presence. The kind of presence built on centuries of war, sharpened through survival, honed in the crucible of Earth. A subtle knock pulled her attention back. Private Aji Malik stepped in, tablet in hand, breath short. Cathari destroyers just entered the outer sector. Minimal weapon signatures, but their comms spiked. How many? 3 confirmed. More might be cloaked. She closed her eyes briefly. Expected. He hesitated. Orders? Hold. No movement unless fired upon. Aji's mouth opened, but he stopped himself, then nodded and stepped out. In the chamber below, Liam sat with Maya and 2 other Terran cadets. Their tutors had been replaced by Terran staff, temporary cultural buffer, the diplomats called it. But the children knew better. They were being protected. Maya looked at Liam's cheek. You know the net's going insane, right? I figured. Someone wrote a song. Strike 1, Earth answers. It's already got 30 million plays. Liam looked away. You okay? I didn't ask for any of this, he whispered. I know, she replied. But that's not how stories work. Meanwhile, in the Concorde chamber, Instructor Sharvok stood straight, tail rigid, voice unwavering. I exercised discipline. No permanent damage occurred. The child disrespected protocol, and I acted within Cathari instructional code. Ambassador Elva Rain of the Terran Federation sat across from him, jaw clenched. She didn't raise her voice. We are not Cathari. We are Terran. You don't raise hands to our children. Not with claws. Not with words. Not at all. You overestimate your place, Sharvok said coolly. Humanity joined the Concorde by vote, not birthright. Elva's eyes narrowed. We may not have been born here. But we're not leaving. At the same time, Leona received a secure channel ping. The source, Mars Command, Orbital Tactical Division. Sergeant Voss, came the voice of General Kalen Locke, tone clipped. We're sending 3 stealth corvettes into Vardex space. You'll have extraction cover, if needed. I'm not extracting. You may have to. She paused. With respect, sir, if we pull out now, the message is weakness. This isn't about pride. No, she said. It's about Liam. Silence. Then a soft breath from Locke. Understood. Maintain presence. Do not engage unless provoked. Yes, General. The call ended. Cathari provocations didn't take long. A civilian-supplied drone en route to Unity Prime was intercepted, accidental rerouting, claimed their fleet commander. The humans didn't respond. They simply logged the breach and sent 3 Terran drones to shadow every Cathari ship within 100,000 kilometers. Sharvok, behind closed doors, seated. This wasn't the response he'd expected. He wanted rage. Fire. Retaliation. Instead, he got silence, measured, heavy silence. And worse, unity. Alien diplomats began whispering. If the humans act with this kind of control, what else are they capable of? Fear crept into the cracks of arrogance. Leona entered the cadet chamber that evening, removing her gloves as she walked in. The room went quiet. Liam looked up. They're not going to do anything to him, are they? Leona sat across from him. They'll try. The Concorde isn't built to deal with this. Then why stay? She reached out, tapped the side of his tablet. A photo bloomed, a young girl in a Terran cadet uniform. Wide smile. Hair braided with ribbons. This was my sister. Lena. Killed in a Cathari joint exercise. Accidental discharge, they said. She was 13. Liam stared. I stayed because I didn't want another Lena. I didn't want another you. Outside the room, alien observers watched. They expected Terrans to lash out, to bark and bite like the Deathworlders of myth. Instead, they organized. They taught. They held the line. But the teeth were there. Waiting. Midnight. The Concorde Council chambers buzzed. A private session had been called. Leona entered in full dress uniform, not as a soldier, but as witness. Sharvok stood again, repeating his earlier defense. But this time, she responded. You speak of order, she said. But order without compassion is just control. And discipline without care is just cruelty. You think you can rewrite our traditions, he growled. No, she answered. But you don't get to write on our children. Chancellor Armax rose from his seat, mandibles twitching. This cannot continue. We propose a tribunal. Sharvok bared his teeth. You would place me on trial over a child? Elvarain's voice echoed cold, no. Over what that child represents. The hearing was approved. Cathari delegates stormed out. Concorde halls went silent. On Earth, the news broke, Galactic Tribunal to hear case of assault on human cadet. And on Luna, Mars, Titan, and every world where Terrans had clawed out a place, people paused, not for vengeance, but for the start of something older than war. Justice. Back aboard her ship, Leona sat at her desk, composing her report. It would be filed under code, Sentinel, an ancient Earth word meaning guardian, watchtower, protector. She didn't mention the fleets. She didn't cite the troop shifts. She didn't have to. Her final line was enough. The galaxy thought we forgot what pain sounds like. We didn't. We just learned how to wait. 3 days. That's how long it took to prepare the tribunal. Not because of logistics, but because no one wanted to be first. No race in the Concorde had ever held one of their own accountable in Terran terms. Until now. Unity Prime's Great Hall was converted into a broadcast chamber. Flags from 48 species hung in solemn silence. At its center stood a circular tribunal platform, cold alloy and polished glass, lit from below by soft white light. Leona watched from a private gallery. She wasn't in uniform. No medals. No weapons. Just presence. The tribunal began with a single tone. Then the counselor of procedure, a brittle-winged Delgari named Thunvek, read the charges. Instructor Sharvak of the Katheri, you are hereby charged under Concord Charter Article 19b, abuse of authority against a protected minor. The term protected minor echoed. Not human. Not Terran. A legal designation with teeth. Sharvak stood at the center, arms folded, tail curling low behind him. Unshaken. Defiant. My actions were lawful, he said. Within Katheri tradition, instructors are guardians of discipline. The child disobeyed. You struck him, Thunvek replied flatly. With intent. Sharvak didn't deny it. Did he attack you? Asked the arbiter from the Elenthri delegation. No. Did he threaten you? Silence. A second voice, did he deserve what you did? Sharvak's lip twitched. He is Terran. You know what they are. The room shifted. Everyone heard it. Not just prejudice. Hatred. Whispers filled the chamber. Across the galaxy, millions were watching. Leona's fingers tapped her leg. Then came the witness call. Sergeant Leona Voss, please approach. She walked to the platform with measured steps, eyes locked ahead. No nods. No acknowledgement of Sharvak. Thunvek gestured. You may speak. She didn't begin with law or procedure. She began with memory. On Earth, she said, we have a term, blood memory. It's not science. It's instinct. The sense that when you harm a child, you touch the bones of our ancestors. She turned slightly, scanning the gallery. We came to the stars looking for peace. And we were told peace required control. Restraint. Compliance. We did that. We joined your Concord. We followed your rules. Now her voice lowered. And then you hit one of ours. A silence fell so absolute it rang. We didn't burn your cities. We didn't unleash war. We demanded accountability. She pointed to Sharvak without raising her hand. And this instructor calls that weakness. Sharvak bared his teeth. Emotion. Typical human noise. Emotion, she echoed, is what stops us from becoming you. The final testimony came from Liam. He walked slowly. Face still faintly bruised. The tribunal offered him a chair, but he remained standing. I don't want revenge, he said quietly. I want them to know we're not animals. That we don't hit just because we can. He looked at Sharvak. And that I didn't cry, not because I'm strong. But because I didn't want him to see he hurt me. That landed harder than any punch. Deliberation was short. Too short, by Concord standards. Thunvek returned after 20 minutes. By vote of 38-10, the tribunal finds the defendant guilty. Sharvak's tail lashed once. Then he stood still. The punishment, the Delgari announced, is permanent expulsion from Unity Prime and termination of Concord teaching privileges. All prior cadet evaluations to be audited. Effective immediately. It was an exile. But for someone like Sharvak, it was a professional death. Leona exhaled softly. Not satisfaction. Just release. Later, in the quiet of the Earth consulate, Liam sat alone in the observation deck. Stars blinked gently outside. Leona approached, 2 cups in hand. 1 cocoa. 1 tea. Which one's mine? He asked. She held out both. You tell me. He smiled a little, picked the tea. Smart, she said. Cocoa's mine. They sat in silence. Then Liam asked, do you think he'll ever understand why what he did was wrong? Leona shook her head. No. But now the rest of them know it wasn't right. He nodded. That's enough. A week later, Earth hosted a summit. Not for retaliation, but for reform. The Concord ratified the Sentient Juvenile Protection Act, inspired directly by the case. For the first time in galactic history, the laws of species with divergent ethics were brought together to form a shared shield for children, regardless of origin. Some called it soft power. Others called it fear diplomacy. Leona called it progress. Her final report closed with a note, filed into the Federation's diplomatic archive. The galaxy expected us to howl and bite. Instead, we stood. That was the scar they'll remember. Months later, in a Cathari training center far from Unity Prime, a new instructor addressed a class of cadets. One of them, a young, bright-eyed kid, raised a paw. "Are humans really dangerous?" The instructor paused, then chose his words carefully. "They are what happens when mercy is broken." The class went silent. "And they are what reminds us why it must never be."